So I wanted to talk with y'all a little bit about how I prune my tomato plants. I want to talk about it now because I want you to see the middle ground of how these are growing before they get too big. What I do with these as they continue to get taller is I will actually prune off all of their lower branches because you want the stem to be almost entirely bare. That is because any bacteria or potential cause for illness, disease that could end up on your plant actually comes from your soil. As you water, as it rains, this bacteria that is in your soil could splash up on the leaves, and then if it gets on one leaf or one branch, then it can begin to travel up your plant. So the important part here is that I like to get the entire bottom of my plant to be naked. Now, the way that I do that is that, of course, you don't want to get a tomato plant and just yank everything off of it. You want it to be able to grow, to develop, to get taller and taller. So the taller leaves, the taller branches are really important as they're smaller. So they do start out being pretty low to the ground and at risk of getting sick. But as they get bigger and bigger, you yank off those branches. So what I do is I'll come out here periodically and I'll simply cut off my lower branches, and as the plants get big, I will have probably the bottom foot or so of my tomato plants having nothing but a stem that protects them from any potential disease at the bottom of the plant. I do this very same method for my pepper plants as well as my squash plants. I've had a lot of trouble in the past with my squash plants having powdery mildew, and it's also ended up on my tomato plants too. I'll talk about those individual plants as I prune those too, but these tomatoes are taken off. I do want to talk about who's who here. I do have this trellis here that is my black creme tomatoes. Those are a determinate variety, meaning they only get so tall and they're done. These are my sweet 100s. These are my pineapple plants over here. I've got about 2 feet worth of space that has 8 plants on it, but it's not crazy, I swear, because these, an indeterminate variety, will continue to get taller and taller all year long. So last year I had my cherry tomatoes on a trellis similar to this one, and when I did, they ended up growing all the way up and then back all the way down. They were huge. And so now this year I have them on an archway that goes 9 feet in the air. But the important thing here is that you want your tomatoes to be properly pruned because then they end up really healthy.